Hey guys, welcome to Braddels Gaming and to finally another custom map series episode. This is my latest map in the Far Cry 5 arcade. It's going to be released immediately after this video goes live on YouTube, and this is Oppression Paintball. Now, for those of you that know the channel and know my custom maps, you might notice that this map is very similar to another one of the maps that I have created before, and that is indeed Outback Paintball. Because this very map that we're going to be exploring today is literally built on Outback Paintball. I basically took Outback Paintball as kind of like a pre-template, I suppose you could call it, and I changed that map into a winter style paintball map instead, where everything within the confines of the map areas for Outback Paintball has been completely changed into this winter sort of setting. There's a lot more buildings, there's different sorts of covers, like these wooden sort of covers here. There's a lot more, well, I guess a different sort of vegetation in the map. It's a snowy theme as well, and there's this really big central structure, this catwalk over the entirety of the map. Wall, platform, walkway, whatever you want to call it. That gives players another alternative. Instead of crossing through the map via this narrow sort of passageway here, which is definitely a choke point that I have institutionalized, there's also another choke point up here, which is this very narrow sort of catwalk walkway that goes over the stretches over the entirety of the width of the map in the middle. And that's going to give players a really good vantage point over the enemy team. It's going to allow them to fire shots, death from above. But yeah, it's just going to give players another pathway as well to traverse the map from their side to the enemy side. Now here we have this aerial view of the map. And as you can see, the format is pretty symmetrical. I tried to make it as even as possible for either team, so there wasn't going to be any inconsistencies from one side to the other. You'll notice in Outback Paintball, it's very repetitive, following the barrel structure, as you can see here. The barrels are evenly spaced out from each other, and there's really only a little bit of discrepancy at the back of either spawn, where some barrels are, moved around slightly to kind of give it a little bit of uniqueness, and also the vegetation across the map is pretty random. As you can see now from Oppression Paintball, it's very similar. It's very much what you have is you have a back of spawn area for either team, where either team gets kind of like a bunker structure, a sort of building, and a hunting tower. So as you can see, that is the same as this side, a hunting tower, a central building, and a bunker structure. And the way that the building is formed, well, it's kind of like a ruin, so almost like in an L shape, as you can see there, and it's also an L shape on the other side. The only difference is that the map is kind of flipped, or I don't know what you'd call it. Let's just use flipped for the sake of the video. So you can see that both sides are symmetrical, but they're flipped so that if you're on this side, for example, your building is diagonal to the staircase, and vice versa. If you're on this side, your building is also diagonal to the staircase on your respective side. So I tried to make the map as even as possible. It really shouldn't be about which side or which team has the better sort of area. It should more so be about whichever team is actually better in terms of skill. As a map maker that doesn't make that many maps, I just want to keep it simple for myself, but also for the people that are going to be playing this map, which is myself, but also you guys out there watching this video perhaps, or just the general arcade player base. Both teams also get direct access to the catwalk that stretches over the width of the map in the middle, as you guys can see from the staircase here and the staircase here on the other side. So as I was saying earlier, there are two ways that either team can get to the enemy team or to the other team. That's one, up this staircase over the catwalk, or two, through this really narrow sort of choke point. I mean, whichever way you go, it's going to be a choke point either way, because both pathways are very narrow. And I did that on purpose because in Outback Paintball, the difference with Outback Paintball, as you guys can see from the Outback Paintball footage here on screen, you can pretty much freely roam around the map, And yeah, there's not really much stopping you from getting from one side of the map to the other. In fact, Outback Paintball was very much designed around the concept of a speedball map. Speedball is a professional style paintball where there's like inflatable structures across the entirety of the map, and it's all about really trying to take as much space as you can from the opposition early, but also playing it tactically. So you don't want to charge too far up the field, but you still want to take up a lot more of their space. Basically it's a battle of attrition and territory. And Outback Paintball is very much based on that concept, albeit in a very Australian and makeshift setting with all the barrels across the map. Now back to Oppression Paintball. You can see that it's a lot harder for one team to get to the other team. There's this huge wall that blocks the whole way, and that was partly due to the inspiration of this map, which is the Berlin Wall. And I also kind of want to give this kind of like a Soviet sort of atmosphere, not just through the weapons themselves. There's a few loadouts. Well, there's a couple loadouts in the AK-47 and the SVD that kind of give it that Russian theme, but also just to give players that sense that this is a map that is set in a cold and harsh environment. And that's why I call it Oppression Paintball, due to the setting, but also due to the inspiration of this map, which is that this structure is kind of like the Berlin Wall. Now, let's spawn in here so I can show you guys the central sort of choke point of the map. And that is this, let's just pick a class. By the way, this AK-47 class will not have grenades in it in the final build. It's just for the sake of, grenades. Anyway, this is the central choke point of the map. As you guys can see, it is kind of like a passageway under the wall itself. And it is very narrow, as you can see. It's a very short choke point too though, so you might be lucky and might be able to just run through it and get to this piece of cover here before anyone shoots at you, but most likely if you traverse through this central part of the map, chances are people are probably going to see you and you're probably going to get shot. And because this is a paintball map, one shot kills, just like an Outback Paintball. So I wanted to design this part of the map as kind of a narrow choke point as it is, because I wanted players to, fight for that catwalk. I feel like the main objective for both teams should be to try to secure the wall, because if you secure the wall, you pretty much won the match. You can have a couple of your team members defending this choke point here, meaning that no one is going to be able to get past it, whilst you can have a few other teammates on top of the catwalk, sort of shooting down fire from above. Now the unique thing about the catwalk is that yes, it's great to sort of shoot down on the enemies here, and you can just crouch and take cover behind the, these sort of shields. But you've also got to be careful because you're very exposed up here. There's no cover. The reason for there being no cover is that it's too narrow to actually place down any cover, but I actually was okay with not having any cover up here, because it means that if you're up here, you're not going to be completely invincible. It's much harder to kill someone when they're above you, but at the same time, you can sneakily, if someone's just raining down shots down this part of the map, someone from your team can easily just sneak up the stairs over here, come up and kill this person that is shooting, well, a lot of bullets down your team's area. So it's not the most invincible place to be, it's very exposed, but it's also very good at the same time. Now coming back down to this central sort of choke point, you've got these wooden panels, which obviously when you shoot them, they get destroyed. But what they do at the start of the match is that they kind of just blind either team from seeing what's going on the other side of the map for the very first few seconds, which means that you can get into a really good position. So for example, if you're on this side of the map and that hasn't been blown to bits yet, you can quickly just slide over here and you can take up a nice position just behind this wall and just do like a peek every few seconds so that you can stop anyone from advancing over into your team side. You can also come up here, and this is another sort of peak point, and yeah, just gives you a nice sort of vantage point over all the sort of buildings and windows in this part of the map. Now we are already getting quite lengthy in the video, So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through with you guys a quick walkthrough of my map. Sorry if there was a big breath in the background there. My dog just breathed out. He's going to sleep. So anyway, this is from one side of the map. As I said, it's pretty symmetrical either way you look at it. So I'm only going to do a walkthrough from this side. We've got a nice little lake here. As you guys can see, I really tried to make the outer world believable in a winter setting. So whilst Outback Paintball was based in Australia, this map is definitely based in more of a wintry setting, either in Russia or America. I know there's vastly two different countries, but nonetheless, it's a winter setting. I'm not exactly sure where I was intending to base this map, but as you guys can see, it's very much based off Outback Paintball. It's really just the interior of the playable space that is different. Although I also put the Braddels Gaming YouTube signage on top of that little nice sort of ice rock, whatever you would call it. Oh my goodness, I cannot explain anything in the moment. But out of your spawn, you have the option to not run into that tree, hopefully, but to climb up this hunting tower, which gives you a nice sort of outlook over, I guess, your team's area. You can also, I guess, pick people off the wall from the other team. So as I said, that wall is a really good position to be, but it's also very exposed, and it's probably going to be the focal point of a lot of people's eyes. A lot of people are probably going to be looking for that catwalk, trying to see if people are up there, and they're going to be firing up there all the time, I reckon. Then you've got this nice bunker structure. This is a custom-made structure that I created out of two, I think these are Vietnam bunker entrances here, these two structures here. And then I've combined them, and I've also combined them with some generic shapes to kind of give it that sort of bunker structure sort of feel. Then you've got these sandbags here. You've also got a lot of these trees that you can hide behind as well, although they don't provide that great cover. Then you can slide into these front sort of defensive positions here. There's I guess a pile of twigs and these wooden structures here, which are good for peek firing out of. You've got these ruins, which I put in the map just to give it a point of difference, but also to introduce a bit of urban combat. So there's a lot of windows here that you can hide behind, and then you can jump through them as well. Then you've got kind of like this, I guess, sort of makeshift wooden structure, which is also a good sort of vantage point, especially over the middle choke point as well. So as you guys can see, there's a lot of different covers that players can use to hide behind. They can even hide in the bush if they want to, although again, this isn't probably the best place to be. But what I really wanted to do was to try and introduce that element of tactical, I guess, paintball gameplay, mixed in with a bit of urban and outdoor sort of inspirations. And then of course you come to the central choke point here, and the entrance to the catwalk as well. And then also there's like a little spawn area here as well. If the other team has gone into your side, let me just get rid of that countdown. If the other team has gone to the other side, there's actually no way that they can spawn trap you, because there's a spawn for you over here, and vice versa for the other team as well. So that means that hopefully no team ever gets spawn trapped, and that the game can continue to flow on in a pretty fast pace as well. Finally, I'm going to be looking at the environment. You guys might have seen a lot of these snow flurries or snowflakes sort of falling from the sky. That's a really cool effect that you can achieve by selecting the fire flying sparks from the, let me just think, which category is it? So you go to add new objects, you go down to audio and visuals, then you go into visuals, effects, and I think it's fire. Let me just check. Which one is it? Okay, let's see if we can find it. Oh, here it is, fire flying sparks. So this is the one. So let me just go back to what I did over here. I can't remember exactly what the settings were for this. Okay, so 75 red, 195 green, and 255 blue. And that's going to create these really white snowflakes that you can put over the entirety of any winter themed map, which is just going to give it that really nice overlay that's going to look really aesthetically appealing and pleasing to players that play your map, just to increase that immersion. And yeah, I just think it's a really great effect. Finishing off this video with the finishing touches, and as I already alluded to, I tried to make this map, like I do with all my maps, feel like it's part of a larger world, just to increase immersion for the players. I feel like that's a really important thing that a lot of people overlook when they make multiplayer maps. Like, of course, the playable area is your number one concern. You want to make sure that that looks good, but it also feels good and plays good. But if you can make the outside of the map feel like it's part of a larger world as well, it just goes so much in terms of going the distance, in terms of making your map really refined. Thankfully, half the work was already done for me. This is, of course, built on Outback Paintball. So the farm that you see here and the airfield on the opposite side of the map is pretty much the same. The only thing that I really did to change the environment was obviously to make it a wintry setting. And so as you can see, I've added kind of like an ice lake here with like a bear, a hunting tower, a tent, some sort of fishing gear, and a boathouse. I've also increased the height of the signage of Braddels Gaming YouTube, so hopefully that means that the self-promotion of the channel will be increased slightly. Although I can understand if people still don't see it because, you know, they're playing a multiplayer map. It's not really their number one concern. And then I've also increased the elevation over here. It's not super noticeable, but it just goes a long way in terms of executing that snowy sort of mountain type environment. And of course, the vistas around the exterior of the map really help that as well. Now I'll quickly go into the environmental settings that I've used for the map. Let me think. So paint textures. I've used snow ice, snow glacier, generic asphalt for the road, and snow ice. For the vegetation, I've used bushes Arctic fire, snow no grass birch medium. Wheatfield I have not used, and I haven't used hayfield either. That's some Outback Paintball. Bushes alpine I've used 1 and 2, and snow no grass mixed low. So the combination of those vegetations and paint textures create a really believable winter setting, so I definitely recommend using those, although of course feel free to, you know, play around with your own creative vision and try and see what works best for your map as well. In terms of environment and audio, the day-night cycle is as follows. The weather is those settings. There's barely any fog. There's the backdrop. There's the post FX. And the audio is just default. In terms of the loadouts, there is a Russia class with the AK-47, a tactical class with the MS-16, a sniper class with the SVD and 6PG pistol, and a support class with the M60. And then what I've also placed down is these animal territory controls. I actually can't remember what it's called. Let me see if I can find it. Where is it? Okay, maybe not. Anyway, I put this animal territory control here just so the wolves don't go wandering about and that they're always kind of in the scene of the map. That kind of increases the soundscape of the map. Players are going to be hearing wolves howling all the time, so they really know that they are in a winter setting, if it wasn't obvious enough already. And similarly, there's also some territory controls here for this, let's say reindeer, even though that's not what it is. Also for the bear, and there is of course the invisible barriers on the wall itself to stop players from just jumping over the wall. I really wanted players to force players to take the pathway and not to just try and cheat it or skip over it. And I've also got invisible barriers under here as well, which I'm going to raise up before I publish the map. So don't you guys worry, that is my editor's weapon to stop people from trying to break the map. Now, what else did I put down? Oh yes, that's right. So I've also placed these sound controls inside the bunker structure and the hunting tower. And those are really cool because what happens is, for example, when you shoot outside of them, you kind of have your usual gunfire sound in the outside environment, which is as follows. And then when you go inside one of these indoor sort of structures, the soundscape of the weapon changes because of the audio volume that you've placed inside of this structure. So this is something you probably want to do if you have a map that is mixed with indoor and outdoor structures. It kind of just increases the I don't know, I've used immersion so much in this video, but yeah, it increases the immersion because, you know, when players are shooting inside this structure as opposed to when they're shooting outside, it changes the way the gun sounds, and yeah, it just makes it sound a little bit more realistic and crisp sounding as well. But that wraps up another custom map series video on this channel. I really thank you guys for tuning in. This has been a long time coming. I've actually had this map sitting in my editor completed for a while, but I just didn't have the time to make the video. So really looking forward to releasing this one onto the arcade and playing it with friends and randoms. And I hope you guys look forward to playing this map if you can as well. Anyways, I'm Braddels Gaming. I'm signing out now, and remember to have yourselves a great day.